Good morning, everyone. Thank you for being here. I'll keep it brief, just as an intro. I know we have a lot of great speakers here. My name is Alan Austin. I'm the managing director of LiteCoin Foundation. I'm here with Bob Summerwill. Bob is the executive director of ETC Cooperative. First off, we'd like to welcome you to our very first proof of work conference. Both LiteCoin Foundation and ETC Cooperative are both nonprofit organizations, and we basically exist to support open source, decentralized, blockchain-based, proof of work cryptocurrency. And one of the things in talking together a while back was we realized that while there was certainly no shortage of crypto-related conferences, a lot of what we were seeing was whether either was coin-specific or maybe NFT-focused, DeFi-focused, and other things. But one of the things we felt was missing up until this point was to have a conference surrounding probably the most important topic of our time, and certainly a topic of ever-growing importance, which is proof of work. When we're talking about a decentralized consensus mechanism that protects the most powerful and important monetary networks in the world, we felt that it would be very beneficial to have a platform where we can bring speakers with vast experience in their space to help, come share their knowledge, insight, participate in conversations with each other, help answer questions, basically on all things proof of work. And so with that, we are today in beautiful Prague, and excited to be here. So. Whether you are new to the space, have been in the space since the early days, programmer, enthusiast, highly technical, less technical, we hope you find the next 2 days very enjoyable, educational, and informative. And really enjoy yourself along the way. One quick thing, I want to just say a really big thanks to our speakers and to our sponsors, who we are honored and grateful to have here today with us. And also a big thanks to the staff that helped to put this event on. These events take quite a bit of work. So thank you very much, and hope you enjoy the conference. Appreciate it. I'll turn it over to Bob.
Thank you, Alan. So hi, good morning, everyone. Thanks for being here. I guess a few people had a little too much fun last night. Not so many people here, but yeah, welcome to the inaugural Proof of Work Summit. This has been a work in progress since Alan and I first met last November, and very rapidly came to the conclusion that doing a joint conference for bringing together the broader proof of work ecosystems would be a good thing. And yeah, thanks to Emma Todd and her team at MMH, who are operational today. So, why have a proof of work summit? Well, really to bring together the tribes, the proof of work tribes, and to celebrate this revolutionary technology. Proof of work is often discounted as old, obsolete technology, which is harmful to the planet, and that really is missing an awful lot of truth. So yeah, I really wanted to have an opportunity to dispel those misleading narratives, and really to get back to cypherpunk fundamentals. There is a lot of money go up nonsense in this space, and those fundamentals of decentralization and censorship resistance and avoidance of capture is, I think, more important now than ever. And I see proof of work as the strongest path to those goals. And we have looming central bank digital currencies on the horizon as well. This was an article in the New York Times several months ago that you may have seen, which brought out all the old tropes. So reading through here, Bitcoin mines cash in on electricity by devouring it, selling it, even turning it off, and they cause immense pollution. In many cases, the public pays the price. So nearly every single part of that sentence is incorrect. And there was also proof of tampering on this image to make it look murky and terrible. Greenpeace USA are currently running a campaign, largely funded by Chris Larsen of Ripple, which is called Change the Code. You've heard Bitcoin fuels a climate crisis, but did you know a software code change could clean it up? So repeatedly we hear, just change the code. Just change the code. Why would you not change the code? A number of people say, you know that you can change the code yourself if you wish. People have done this before. They had this marvelous piece of artwork that came out of this. So I don't know if you've seen it. This is the skull of Satoshi, which was commissioned, you know, to convey the horror of proof of work. But instead, they've made a fantastic meme, which was, you know, embraced by everybody. Yeah, so I mean, the reality is that energy markets are a lot more complex than these very shallow surface stories. Energy markets are not uniform. Transmission of power over large distances is very, you know, hard and expensive. So, and crypto mining is actually one of the most price-sensitive markets there is. So, use of stranded energy is a really, you know, fantastic win-win situation of monetizing an unused resource that would just be wasted. And so tomorrow we'll see the debut of this stranded short from the makers of dirty coins. So that will be debuting tomorrow, and I'm really looking forward to that one. For anyone who doesn't already follow Daniel Batten, I thoroughly recommend that you do so. I have learned so much from him myself in the last year or so. He was invited, but sadly couldn't be here. So I'm instead going to share some recent charts that he tweeted just yesterday or the day before, I think, that were really rather superb, showing some metrics. So Bitcoin mining is actually the single most sustainably powered global industry in the world. So you see here the change over the last 4 years. If you look at these other industries, you know, they are both significantly worse in terms of their use of renewables, but they're also stuck. You see, they're not really changing. And a primary reason for this is that many industries are just using the grid. You know, whatever they have, that's what they have. The energy mix they have, that's what they have. They don't really have any way of changing that, where crypto mining often is using off-grid energy sources, so they can very deliberately choose where and how to operate. And they are not tied to a physical location either. This chart is showing that Bitcoin has halved its energy intensity inside the last 4 years to have the lowest emission intensity of any major global industry. And if you see this graph, you know, it's kind of like this one, but upside down. And what that's talking to really is that over that period, you've had more and more use of lower carbon use, more renewable energy sources, and that has resulted in significantly less density of emissions over that period. China had a ban on mining in mid-2021, which really resulted in a lot of mining moving to US and other countries which have more sustainable energy sources. So you can see there over that period, despite the hash rate doubling or tripling over that period, emissions are actually, total emissions this is, are down by nearly 40%. So things are moving in a very good direction. Something else that Daniel has a particular focus on is the use of methane as an energy source. So methane is significantly worse, you know, 80x worse for warming than CO2. And a lot of methane is either just wastefully flared or even just directly vented into the atmosphere. So using that as an energy source of crypto mining is unbelievably fantastic in terms of the you know, the impact that that has. So there are a number of projects live using that now. It's a small number, but they're growing. And you know, what he points out from that is that many projects and companies talk about their path to carbon neutral or net zero. But if you take methane into account, you can get to carbon negative. You know, this path is not down to the origin. It can go further down. And based on his projections, that could be neutral by as soon as the end of 2024, and then heading into positive territory. And I don't think there's any other industry on the planet that has that potential. Cryptocurrencies and blockchain technology can be seen as a continuation of the story of the cypherpunks and their desire for uncensorable digital currency as a core pillar of personal freedom. So Wikipedia says that a cypherpunk is any individual advocating widespread use of strong cryptography and privacy-enhancing technologies as a route to social and political change. And the basic ideas can be found in a cypherpunks manifesto that was written by Eric Hughes in 1993, and I believe Eric is one of these masked figures on the cover of Wired magazine. So he said, "Privacy is necessary for an open society in an electronic age. We cannot expect governments, corporations, or other large faceless organizations to grant us privacy. We must defend our own privacy if we expect to have any." And the primary focus of the cypherpunks back in 1993 didn't really cover digital currency per se, because there wasn't a solution at that time. But Satoshi brought us that, and really you can see our whole, our whole movement and industry and ecosystem as a continuation of that cypherpunk quest. Elizabeth Warren doesn't have that same vision. I think it's fair to say, both in terms of personal privacy, but certainly not financial privacy. The UK seemingly does not have this same vision either. I don't know if you've recently seen that the UK Parliament have passed the UK Online Safety Bill, which is, it's back to the crypto wars of the 1990s and the right to end-to-end encryption. So it's going to be interesting how that plays out. The president of Signal has already said, if it comes down to it, they will leave the UK market if they are asked to do impossible things. But that's where we are. It's safe to say that Gary Gensler and the SEC do not believe in the crypto, in the cypherpunk vision either. And so the ETC Cooperative suffered this ourselves. Earlier this year, we were debanked. We were a Signature Bank customer. Signature were forcefully closed down with stories of it being due to crypto risks, which was not the case at all. And then we received this lovely notice from the FDIC saying, your deposit was not assumed. That's the language. And we will write you a check. I don't know where we were meant to put that check, not having a bank anymore. But we did scramble and find another bank. But, it's a very fragile situation. Also, our friends at PayPal recently announced a US dollar stablecoin. Fantastic. On Ethereum mainnet, no less. So somebody snarked on Twitter, the world-class user experience of crypto combined with the renowned censorship resistance of PayPal. What a fantastic combination. Line me up. Almost to the day that happened, I received this lovely email. Your activity in your account is inconsistent with our user agreement, and we no longer offer you PayPal services. And we're holding on to your money for 180 days, and we're not going to tell you why, and you can't appeal it. They actually followed that up less than a week later by sending a credit card, a business credit card for that account that they had just gimped. Fantastic. So yeah, back on cypherpunk thread, another thing that you may have seen is the Tornado Cash case, where developers were arrested and have been charged for providing a mixing service, for writing a smart contract. A smart contract was sanctioned by the US government, and that caught up all users of that service. People are using a service for bad things, therefore all of you will suffer. You know, many people were using Tornado Cash for their own financial privacy, not for criminal activity, but everyone caught up in the same net. And not only, you know, were those individuals, you know, arrested and charged, but the other consequence of this, very rapidly, was censorship. So almost immediately, all the major DeFi front ends added censorship. They added filtering, where any account which had touched Tornado Cash in any form, you know, was blocked. And you also had some fantastic Joker dusting all the well-known ENS accounts just to drag everyone into the mire. So yeah, you know, not very cypherpunk. And on the horizon, you know, we have a massive central bank digital currency projects coming to life. You know, so these are projects using largely the same technology stack as cryptocurrencies, but for a completely polar opposite set of goals: to control, to censor, to surveil. You know, and really they are bringing the threat of complete government surveillance of all of your transactions. You know, again, the polar opposite of the goals of the cypherpunks. And yeah, and I know which side of the coin my efforts are going to be on. And I think there's a fairly strong correlation between people in the proof of work ecosystem and these original cypherpunk goals. So have a great conference, everyone. Thank you.
We can do some Q&A too, so that would be cool.
Sure.
My first question to you would be, where do you think we're going in the proof of work, proof of stake debate? Because essentially, the original, you know, guy that when Ethereum went to proof of stake and kind of like went, and we stuck with Ethereum Classic, and now we have the merge a year ago where we have staking that's moved on and everything. Where do you see, you know, usage and, I don't want to say market going, but the market for ideas, so the market for the argument between proof of work and proof of stake, where do you see it happening in the next 5 years?
Well, I mean, I think the issue, though, is that there are a large group of people that don't give a shit about any of these fundamentals. They really don't. They are, you know, they are chasing yield, and humans follow incentives. So if you have a magic money machine, you know, that's where many people are going to put their time and effort. You know, in Ethereum, there's a bit of a crisis right now. I don't know if you've seen this about, which is about liquid staking. So quite predictably, if you move to a situation where you supposedly have hundreds and thousands of stakers, you know, those people aren't going to run their own node. You know, they're not going to stake themselves. You know, many wouldn't even have the 32F to be able to do that. But you know, that's a job, and it's a job perhaps even more than mining, because you have to keep the thing up all the time. You know, you can't drop in and out. So you know, what's happened from that is that you've had a huge growth of custodial staking, either through centralized exchanges or then more recently through liquid staking, with Lido being a large slice of that.
Danny Ryan's been speaking about now if Lido comes to 31%, we're way down, away from 51% attacks down to a 31% attack.
Yeah. Yeah, so you have a situation where Lido have explicitly stated that they see this as a one-winner-takes-all scenario. They don't intend to self-limit. They intend to go for a majority there. So then what you can have very rapidly is a situation where it's almost like the token is taken over, right? You know, the staking token becomes more economically valuable than the base token, and you've sort of had a parasite take over your environment.
That argument could be made about Ethereum from, you know, the get-go on top of Bitcoin. I mean, it was the first ICO that happened on Bitcoin. Most people don't realize that you needed Bitcoin to actually purchase ETH. So, I mean, it's like a derivative cannibalization that's going even further. So the question becomes, why is proof of work superior in this sense to proof of stake?
I mean, I think ultimately it's simple, and that has incredible merit. You know, I think, you know, people that don't know, I used to work for the Ethereum Foundation. I was, you know, deeply involved with Ethereum in itself and the Enterprise Ethereum Alliance and Hyperledger and so on for many years. It took 8 years for proof of stake to happen. You know, proof of stake was the intention in the Ethereum white paper. They were saying, you know, maybe that's 2015, you know, maybe it'll, you know, 6 months, a year, maybe. It took 8 years to come to fruition. And I think in some ways that was good, you know, iterating through bad ideas and getting to better ones and so on. But there's huge complexity there. You know, you've ended up with something which is significantly harder to understand. So you see things like liquid staking coming in, or the other one is that there's just a huge amount of the ether is staked. I don't know why that wasn't anticipated. You know, if you can sort of have risk-free, you know, it's like a bond or whatever. You know, here is your risk-free revenue. So obviously everyone's going to do that.
So if we go back to what you spoke about in the white paper, is that this was one of the original arguments, was the environmental costs about moving to proof of stake.
Right.
And so when I look at the slides that you're putting up, and these slides are getting literally almost like on a monthly basis better.
Yeah.
You know, this whole environmental movement that proof of stake was supposedly going to solve also doesn't seem to be playing out. Is there comparative figures on energy usage for proof of stake networks like we're seeing for proof of work networks? Are they comparable?
I mean, they're very low, but like, you know, like I had on one of the slides, if you have an assumption that you're heading to net zero, then yeah, proof of stake systems are using less energy, but they can't go any further below. You know, I guess it's like, you know, traditional data centers or energy use or whatever, right? You know, all you can do is try and use less, but you're always using the amount that you are. You know, like computers doing things take up energy, but the key differentiator you have on proof of work is that those very expensive bits, they can be anywhere and they can work anywhere. And that you just don't have that flexibility in proof of stake. I mean, I think beyond that demonization, the other thing that you had was this sort of, you know, this sort of fairness concept, right? Of saying, well, anyone can stake. You know, you don't have to, you know, be one of those big guys. But that isn't true. You know, that's just a
Is that really true in proof of work, though, as well?
I'm sorry?
Is that more true in proof of work? You know, the individual guy, you know, being able to participate in the network?
Well, you can. So, like Donald, our senior editor, has recently done mining. You know, he's not a technical guy, but he's like, right, let's try and do this. And has got hold of, you know, some ASICs and has mined. Like, you can do it. It's not crazy hard.
Cool. So does anybody have a question for Bob? Because this is the opportunity. We're at the beginning of the conference. We're running a little bit late. I don't think it's really going to matter to anybody, but this would be the opportunity for one of you to have a question for Bob. Is there anybody out there that I don't feel so alone in? Great. I mean, I'd like to see us have an interactive day. We're a good small group of people, and I think we can be casual about this, right? So.
Thanks. We often see comparisons of proof of work against proof of stake on the block proposal side, but never on the validation by the entire network. And people who run nodes are kind of validating and accepting or not accepting the blocks. And it seems that in Ethereum now you need like so much larger machines to validate the network. I'm surprised to never see these numbers also in these comparisons of how much a network consumes. What do you think about it?
It's not actually that bad. I have a DApp node instance, which is running an Ethereum, an ETC, a Bitcoin, a LiteCoin, Monero, and a Zcash node, all on a single piece of hardware, and it works fine. It's not a Raspberry Pi, no. If you're down in Raspberry Pi land, you're not going to run so many in parallel. But you know, this stuff isn't impossible. You know, I think people often oversell how hard it is to run an Ethereum node. If you run a full archival node, then yeah, you're not going to have a happy time on that. But most people have no need to run an archival node. We have Jared Hope here, whose team developed the Nimbus client, and can talk about these things if you'd like. He's this gentleman here.
Okay, we got another question over here.
Hello, Bob. Good morning.
Introduce yourself.
I'm just a volunteer from Discord. What I want to ask you is, do you think that ETC Cooperative will continue to maintain for the next few years compatibility with Ethereum EVM?
So generally, what we've, I don't know if everyone heard that, the question was basically, is ETC intending to maintain compatibility with Ethereum? Generally speaking, ETC is tracking Ethereum on protocol changes, unless they are things which are in violation with the goals of ETC, which mainly turns into monetary policy. So I mean, ETC, you could see it, it's like Ethereum, but proof of work with a fixed monetary policy. Generally, that's what ETC is. So controversial changes, we do bring them all over. So if you are running smart contracts on Ethereum, those generally just port straight over. Same way as there are many other EVM chains. So yeah, the intention is to stay compatible unless they do a bad thing, like the DAO.
Slock it. Thanks, Bob.
Thank you, everyone.
This guy gives, if you don't know this already, this is the best hugger in crypto. Yeah? And there's another guy named Griff Green that we know from the Ethereum space.
Wow, come on.
But these are one of the best huggers. Thank you so much for coming up and starting out the conference in this way, Bob.
Cheers, everyone.
So.